Part 2 of Rainbow Magic, Luna the Loom Band Fairy. Chapter 3. No loom in the room. Quickly the girls told their story. Luna frowned. "He could be planning to steal my new patterns and designs," she said. She flew up and set the drawers on a high wall and opened each one. When she flew back down, she was smiling. "All my designs are still here," she told the girls. "There's nothing else Jack Frost could possibly want." She broke off and went pale. "What is it?" asked Rachel in concern. "I have a special magical object on display in the gallery at the moment," said Luna. "My golden loom band is very important because it makes sure that all the loom band's creation turn out well. What if something happens to it?" "We saw Jack Frost heading in the gallery in the swimming pool," Christy said in dismay. "He must be planning to steal the golden loom." Luna darted through the archway and along the corridor, swiftly followed by Rachel and Christy. They swooped into a large gallery full of loom band models and designs, and then Luna let out a cry of alarm. A pedestal stood in the center of the gallery, but there was no golden loom upon it. Instead, there was a tiny golden model of Jack Frost sticking his tongue out at them. Luna looked very upset. "Without my golden loom, no one will be able to use loom bands properly here or in the human world," she said. I have to find it, but where could have Jack Frost hidden it?" "He was at a loom band workshop when we saw him," said Rachel. "I expect he's going back there with the loom to make what he wants." "Yes," said Luna. "My magical golden loom will make him the best loom band artist in the world, and everyone else will lose their skills." "Let's go back to the cafe and look for him," Christy said. Luna waved her wand and a ribbon of fairy dust collided around the three fairies, lifting them off their feet and spinning everywhere around. When the dizziness faded, they found themselves standing outside the cafe once again. Luna tucked herself under a lock of Christy's hair, and the girls walked in and started to work their way around the busy cafe. As they reached for Jack Frost, the other children started to complain. "My loom band broke. These loom bands keep snapping." Even Oscar was struggling to link his bands together. And one little girl was crying because she couldn't make her bands connect. Sarah was trying to help everyone, but she was also struggling to use the loom band and looked very upset. "I can't understand it," the girls heard her say to herself. "I'm all fingers and thumbs. I don't think Jack Frost is here," said Luna in Christy's ear. "We could go back to Fairyland." "Wait," cried Rachel. She pointed to a large green foot sticking out of beneath of one of the cafe tables. "That's a goblin's foot," said Christy. Together the best friends crouched down and peered underneath the table. Two plump goblins were sitting there, flicking the loom bands at each other. "Stop that," cried Rachel. "Don't you know that is dangerous to flick bands at people? Someone could get hurt." The goblins turned and stuck out their tongues. "Shut up and leave us alone," said the first goblin. "Thanks to Jack Frost, we can do anything we like with loom bands," said the second. "I don't believe you," said Christy, thinking quickly. "Jack Frost isn't clever enough to be able to use a loom band. We saw him with it earlier. He couldn't even make a simple bracelet." "How dare you!" exclaimed the first goblin, opening his eyes wide. "Jack Frost is a loom band genius. He's got a magical loom band. Soon he'll have all the newest loom bands in the human world," added the second goblin. "So there, that's impossible," said Rachel. "There's no way he could collect all the loom bands from all the shops across the world so quickly." "That shows how much you know, stupid," shouted the first goblin. "Jack Frost is a million times cleverer than you. He doesn't need to go to all the shops. He can just take them from the biggest loom band factory in the world. As soon as he spoke, the goblin realized that he had said too much. He clapped his hands over his mouth if he could stop words from escaping, but it was too late. Luna flew out from under Christie's hair and hovered in front of him. "Thank you for the information," she said. "Now I know exactly where to find Jack Frost." "Let's get out of here," said the second goblin with a gulp. "That goes for us too," said Luna. "We need to get to the largest loom band factory in the world right now." Chapter 4. Following Frost. As the goblins scampered out of the cafe, the girls crept under the table. There were so many looms and loom bands breaking that no one noticed what they were doing. Luna realized her wand, and in the blink of an eye, Rachel and Christy were standing in a big factory warehouse surrounded by towers of huge boxes. "These boxes are filled with loom bands," said Rachel, reading the labels on the side. "Look, they're going to countries all over the world." Luna flew across to look at the labels, but just as then they heard a squawk and cackles coming from another part of the warehouse. "Come on," cried Christy. She and Rachel ran towards the sound, with Luna fluttering between them. Ahead, they saw 5 goblins bending over open boxes. They were stuffing loom bands in large sacks. As each sack was filled, it was passed along a line of goblins towards the window. A rope was dangling down, and as the sacks were attached to the rope, they were pulled up a sight. "They're stealing," gasped Rachel. "Wait here," said Luna in a low voice. I'll go and see what's happening to the sacks." She zoomed out through the window over the heads of the goblins. Rachel and Christy watched as more sacks were hoisted up through the window. A few seconds later, Luna came back looking very upset. "Jack Frost is sitting on the roof," she told the girls. "He's pulling the bag up and using his wand to send them somewhere. We have to stop him before he empties the warehouse," said Christy in a determined voice. "But how?" Rachel looked around and spotted an emergency alarm on the wall. "Maybe we should set that off," she said. "But it's only for emergencies," said Christy in a nervous voice. "This is an emergency," Rachel exclaimed, hurrying towards it, taking a deep breath and picking up the tiny hammer next to the alarm and used it to break the glass. Immediately, a loud wailing sound echoed around the warehouse. The girls heard shouts of footsteps running their way. "Luna, could you turn us into fairies?" asked Rachel. "I don't want to have to explain why we're here." Luna waved her wand, and the girls immediately shrank to fairy size. While beautiful wings appeared on their backs, they fluttered into the air as the factory workers came running around the corners and spotted the goblins. At the sound of the alarm, the naughty creatures had scattered in a panic, and they were now running into boxes, walls, and each other. "Stop, thieves!" shouted the factory workers, racing towards them. The goblins squealed and started jumping out of the window. The last one escaped just in the nick of time. "Come on, let's go up on the roof," said Rachel, feeling brave. "We have to stop Jack Frost before he escapes too." The 3 fairies swooped out over the heads of the factory workers and zoomed up on the roof. Jack Frost was still sitting there, and Christy saw that he had the golden loom tucked under his cloak. But to their surprise, he didn't look cross. He was holding a big bag of loom bands and grinning. "You can't stop me now," he cackled, having the big bag on his shoulder. "I already have enough bands for my first design. and whenever I want more, I'll just come back here." There was a rack of blue lightning, and he disappeared, but he vanished. A few loom bands showered down from where he had been standing. Rachel and Christy felt upset, but Luna smiled. "Don't worry," she said. "His bag had a hole in it, and that means he left a loom band trail, which I can follow." "Amazing!" exclaimed Christy. Luna took their hands. "Don't let go," she said. "I have no idea where this trail will take us." The girls held on tight, and as a swirl of kaleidoscope of colors surrounded them while loom bands whirled past their surprised eyes. "Hold on," they heard Luna cry. "We're going back to fairyland." The colors and loom bands whizzed around them faster and faster, and then very suddenly the colors faded at the spinning stop. The three friends were standing in a shabby, damp room with covered walls. "I know this room," Rachel exclaimed. "We've been here before." "Yes," Christy agreed with a little shiver. "This is the highest room in one of the towers of Jack Frost's ice castle." Luna fell to the tiny arched window and looked outside. "You're right," she said, nodding. "I can see the forest in front of the castle, and the sky is grey and cloudy. What a miserable place. If the loom band trail brought us here, then your golden loom must be here too," said Rachel. "We have to search the castle for it." To be continued.